everyone. Welcome back to an episode of Comics Experiment. This is the show where I get together once a week with my buddies and we talk about stuff going on in the world of comic books. This week, I've got Sal from the channel Comic Pop joining me, and I've got Sean Gordon Murphy, who you may know. Is it Murray or Murphy? I always keep mixing that up.
Murphy.
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 Okay.
Like RoboCop.
Yeah, I want to get it correct. Or you could be RoboCop, you know? But you probably know him from running White Knight 1, White Knight 2, White Knight 3. Believe you wrote the Red Hood, or did you have someone else do that one? Because I believe your wife did Harley Quinn, right?
Yep, my wife wrote Harley Quinn, and then my friend, my buddy Clay wrote Red Hood.
Okay, I really liked Red Hood, so I guess I can't talk too good about it then.
Yeah, no, it's all right. No, you can absolutely. No, he's been helping me on White Knight since the beginning, so I've been pushing to get him credit just as like a silent editor, and legally they didn't want to do that, so I finally said, well, let's give him his own book so he can, I've been paying him out of my own pocket for a few years just to help keep me going. But I didn't want him to be left hanging, so we were able to give him the Red Hood book.
Okay, I mean, I'm a big fan of Red Hood, so when you hinted at it at the end of part 2,
yeah,
I was like, oh, but that's the end of the series. And then we heard that you were formulating a bunch of stuff, and I'm like, please give me Red Hood. I want to see what you do with Red Hood. So yes, today we're going to be sitting here chatting about the White Knight series as a whole. And anybody who's watched his interviews before knows that I am terrible at interviews. That's why I brought Sal. Sal.
Hi, I'm also here. Yeah.
Sal, what's the secret to a good interview?
The secret is to know who you're interviewing
Okay.
and to be a fan in any way of what they're talking about. So, being a fan of your work and loving your art and, of course, your writing, the universe of White Knight. When you first started and you created, White Knight, I'm sure they've talked about this. We're literally 5 volumes deep in the White Knight universe.
Yeah, no, I get the same questions a lot. It's okay.
Yeah. But now that we're getting the Infinite Universe, do you know what numerical designation you have here?
They're doing an Infinite Universe?
They were getting the Infinite Universe back.
So there will be. So I will have a number,
you'll get a number,
but
and it might be a weird number. I know that they just dropped that the Amalgam Universe still exists in the DC multiverse, and that's Earth 1996. So it's they're doing a little bit of. So you could actually, because it's infinite and you don't have to worry about the map anymore, you could actually say I want my universe to be WH1 T3 or something it could be some kind of alphanumerical designation.
Man, that's some Illuminati level branding right there. That's intense. So they're going to have characters from different universes overlap. I mean, Marvel's been doing this for a while, right?
Oh, they've been doing that. Yeah,
I mean, DC's been doing it too. We've had the multiversity and multiverse,
the Justly Incarnate. Yeah. I would not be surprised if the White Knight Batman in some form appeared in some task force or team in the DC universe in the future.
I hope they do. Yeah.
I was gonna say, unless you have some kind of creative control, Neil's oh, you can't use Morpheus unless I tell you can use Morpheus.
I don't know if I have that kind of sway. It'd be nice to have that. I know that they're probably going to get around to animating it. I mean, they do so many of these cartoons, and they usually end up grabbing the best of from every 5 or 10 years. So I would imagine that at some point, I mean, I don't even know if they would bring me in to help. I don't really expect them to. It's a whole different department, so it's not personal. It is what it is.
Right.
Yeah, I would absolutely love that. I mean, if they did an animated version of it, I would love it if it was done in my style, but I don't have an animation-friendly style at all. They're probably just going to run it through the mill and make it look like every other DC thing that's coming out.
That's the sad part about it. Well, now they do 3D animation. That's what they just did with the Super Sons thing. So your style would not work at all with the 3D animation style.
No.
But before we go any further, I do want to start. The whole point of this is to let you guys know that there is a continuation of White Knight going on right now beyond the White Knight. That's why we wanted to talk about White Knight.
Yes.
So that is a series that went through 1 through 4. Then there was the Red Hood. We've been covering in here in Comicstorian, but that doesn't mean you know it exists. We're trying to let you know that it's currently going. And issue 7 drops. Is it next month or this month?
This month, I think, in 2 weeks or so.
Okay. So, you're the comic that comes out in that Christmas weird break, aren't you?
I know. Yeah, we got really great timing. So issue 7 will be in a few weeks. Issue 8 will be in February, and then that'll be all 8 issues. And then the trade waiters can get excited and they start, just buying the trade. I assume the Red Hood 2-shot will be included in the trade. So you have a trade with 10 issues in it plus whatever back matter I can throw in there.
Yeah. The Red Hood thing kind of flows very well. I like the way you wrote it because it works perfectly as if you just read straight, Red Hood's just right there in the middle. But I like that it is separate, so that if you're just like, look, I don't care about Red Hood and his new sidekick. I don't.
Right. Yeah. No, it's funny. I didn't know this, but Red Hood's one of those characters where you can just throw him in and he has a cult following, so people will just.
I'm in that cult. I literally. I have his tattoo right here.
So you're the guy. Yeah. We like you at DC. We like people that just blind buy items like that. I'm trying to think of other characters that have that power. Like if I threw Lobo in, maybe Lobo has that kind of pull.
Oh, that would
I think Cassandra Cain's got a secret cult too.
Cassandra Cain,
orphan. She's got. I've seen, like whenever I see like that kind of thing where it's like, oh, here's the Red Hood fans who don't seem to get into anything else involved in DC. Right. Cassandra Cain orphan also pops up in those circles, where they're just like, oh, give her, she's the best Batgirl, give her justice, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Man, now you got me thinking about having a Sean Gordon Murphy Lobo book, which I think everybody wants to see at some point because of your affinity for bikes and muscle cars and so forth.
Yeah, I know. I've got a date with Destiny with Lobo at some point. My universe is pretty grounded so far. It's like there was nothing really outside of Gotham. I wrote it as if Gotham were an island. I don't have Superman or any characters with superpowers yet.
I was gonna say, do they exist and we just haven't referenced them?
Oh, well, they don't have to be in the White Knight universe. We could just
issue 8. There's going to be a massive reveal that I think is going to answer this question. I won't say any more than that.
Awesome.
But in my book, there's this thing that Derek Powers, who's the villain from Batman Beyond, he is convinced that he's got a government secret. And he has like a classified file that's scaring the shit out of him. And he thinks he's justified in using all this Bruce Wayne military technology that was used for Batman and expanding it to give it to the military. And he thinks that there's an invasion coming. And we don't know what this thing is until the very last page of issue 8. And when you see what Derek Powers has, you're like, holy shit, he's right to be concerned. So that's probably a pretty good hint.
Right. Well, because up until now, you've done a really good job of really hiding Derek's motivations, because you kind of spun it all to be on Terry. Terry's motivations are because Derek told him what's going on, so he's this new Batman. And I love the dive, because one of my favorite parts about part 3, because you did a great job of exploring the idea of like Batman basically paying for the stuff he does. And then you did a great idea with the second one, which was like, okay, how does he get brought to justice? And I like the third one, which is, at least the way I've been reading it, is like the mental journey of what this has done to Batman. The anxiety and things like that. And the twist you've done with Joker being in his head as his Obi-Wan Kenobi, I love that.
Yeah, no, that was the best part. I mean, in a way, the third volume is sort of a buddy comedy.
Yeah.
Like a police comedy in a way. And I don't know if anyone's ever done, I know people have done Batman and Joker have to team up. They have like an uneasy truce, but I've never seen one like this where Joker is in Batman's head and Batman doesn't even know, like, is this a hallucination? Is this just some fucked up thing I have to do to drive myself? Or is it actually a microchip that I cannot remove? And it turns out that having the Joker hologram with him is actually pretty convenient, because the hologram can like immediately tell him where to go. Hey, there's a guy behind you, duck. Oh, you take this guy out at the knees. Like, he's the best Robin ever, as Joker himself says in the book. He's like super jazzed. In a way, this is like my Joker's wildest fantasy, is he gets to be along the ride with Batman. And what starts out as really irritating turns into the only, Bruce is very thankful, because without Joker's help, he would not have gotten this far. And he admits that.
In a world of comic books where we do have a lot of circular storytelling, I do like what you've done with the Joker, because we've had close things to this, but your portrayal is like Joker's trying to help him. That I've never seen before, because you got the Arkham Knight game universe where the hallucinations are messing with him. And I think the other closest thing would be Last Night on Earth. Scott Snyder did the head.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
where that was also like he wasn't really trying to help. That was just Joker's head. Because you're not doing Joker, you're doing Jack Napier, which is the version you created, the helpful, I want to help thing situation.
Right. Yeah.
Which I also enjoy. You didn't waste a lot of time with Batman not trusting him. Like you got into like, we got to be buddies.
Yeah. I mean, Batman, he cannot get rid of this guy. I mean, outside of a lobotomy, he has no choice. So this guy's just here talking all the time to me. And he's like geeking out because Bruce is doing awesome Batman stuff. And in a way, Jack Napier is like the reader going, oh my God, tell us you have a Batmobile we've never seen before. I mean, he's all but winking at the camera the whole time. But yeah, I think Bruce realizes, I mean, he's in the 60s now. He's getting his ass kicked by these super cops and these cameras everywhere. He doesn't know what the new Gotham looks like. He's been away for 10 years. He wouldn't have lasted more than one issue without Jack's help. So I think Bruce can put his ego aside and just trust Jack. But he refuses to call him Jack, and Jack refuses to call him Bruce.
Right.
Just because they are like brothers who need to antagonize each other, I guess.
Did you was the decision to give Batman anxiety, like that he has to get over that? Was that so that he would trust the Joker, or did you kind of plan that before the Joker planning stages?
Well, what you said before about Batman's emotional journey and the guilt. I wanted to put in a lot of the guilt he must feel, and even some of my own Catholic guilt. I'm not a Catholic anymore, but I was raised Catholic. And I've had my own experience with anxiety, and I thought, what if Bruce Wayne, like the toughest guy ever, was taken down by his biggest enemy, which is himself? Mm-hmm. And such a stupid, silly, benign thing like a panic attack was actually enough to incapacitate him. How annoyed would he be, especially if it happened at the worst possible time? And I think that people who have anxiety often feel that way. Like, what the fuck? Like, I can pay my bills. I've got a job. I'm healthy generally. Like, why am I having panic attacks? And it's just, as you get older, there's just no explanation for it.
Yeah.
So part of it was me journaling and sort of playing around with it just for my own edification. But then it led to the idea of what if Bruce was so seized by an episode that Joker had no choice but to take over his body. And it led us to this scene where the Joker gets to parade around as Batman, and Batman has to help him and show him how to be Batman.
Right.
And Joker is like loving this because this is his wet dream right here. He's literally inside Bruce Wayne. I mean, the fan fiction people are going crazy for this sort of thing.
Sure.
It's actually funny because that you word it in that way, because I actually recently started having panic attacks occasionally myself. And from someone who was in the military for 10 years and then came out, and I've always had that mentality of, no, I got to be the toughest guy in the room. Nothing can take me down. I can't be defeated. Right. I literally have walked on broken bones because I refuse to show weakness. And then to have those, I had that same mentality of like, how am I having these? Like, what have I done wrong that this is now happening to me?
Yeah.
So I get that, and I like that spin on, and maybe that's why I kind of related to Bruce being on his knees, being like, "I'm dying. This must be a heart attack. It's over."
Yeah. I mean, in a way, he's admitting the only one tough enough to take him down is himself.
Right.
And he knows how deadly of an enemy he is. So of course, like you can dive into the therapy of it all you want. I think it's really interesting. And I think it's funny for Joker and Harley, who's the therapist or psychologist, obviously, to point out, like, let me see, tragic upbringing, lost both parents, gunned down, this and that, blah, blah, blah. Like, I can't believe you haven't had panic attacks up to this point, if I'm honest. Like,
I loved that line.
For panic attacks is if you're like your entire life. The fact that you're like 65 and having your first one, you're getting off easy, Bruce.
Sal, I don't want to just. You got something?
No,
it's
going great. I mean, see, Benny, you don't need me here. You're doing fine. But that's the benefit of being a fan of this kind of project. I have been a big fan of what you've done with Harley since the beginning, and watching her evolve and grow, and seeing their like relationship kind of blossom. I remember Volume 2. I was like, is he gonna make them hook up? Is that where we're going with this?
I know.
Well, now the answer is yes. I mean, that's
now they have children, so it's like but
it's funny because at first people were like, "Oh my God, are Harley and Bruce flirting? This is bullshit. No way. This is gross." Mm-hmm. Volume 2, they're like, "Oh yeah, they're kind of getting close, and I don't know if I like this. I'm just gonna focus on other things." And by Volume 3, people are like, "When are they gonna get together? We're tired of you teasing us." Like, people came around. Well, I was gonna say really fast, but Volume 1 was in 2017. So over the past 5 years, we've been sort of planting these seeds. So I even debated like not having them together in this volume. And I talked to my wife, who's a romance writer. She goes, "You've been teasing it for 5 years. I think you've earned it. I think, you don't have to have them make out or have sex or anything like that, but they can start to admit it and hold their hands. Like, you've played with the will they, won't they for 5 years now. I think you should just give it to them, because this is the only book that can do that. In the mainline, this really wouldn't happen this way. So
I think I
have a lot of people who hate the idea of Bruce and Harley unless it's a White Knight book, and that makes me feel proud.
Right? One of the things I like about White Knight is that you're just telling one continual story. Like, you can change your Red Hood, your Harley, you can change your Joker, and they're not just going to come back to life or go back to the status quo quickly. It's one thing and you've continued the series, because when it was just White Knight, it's like, oh, well, this is a fun Elseworlds, one of my favorites, check it out. But now the story's continued and you've expanded upon it. Like, I hate you for your tease on, I think it was 6, where the cover was Nightwing in the actual outfit. but he didn't get into the outfit in the issue. I was like, is this going to be it? Is he going to be? Oh, we didn't.
Sorry,
we didn't do it. We didn't do it.
Yeah, I don't like to mislead customers if I can help it, but that DC did suggest that. I was like, okay. I mean, he does get into the Nightwing outfit very quickly, so
I assumed it was coming. I didn't think you were going to put it on a cover and then just never have him in the outfit.
It's not a total lie. Yeah, just a total white lie. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just too cool a visual. Like you gotta there are so many key moments throughout the series that you're like, immediately you're like, oh yeah, I'm just thinking about like in the previous volume, the Azrael Batman recreation and how great that suit was, and how I see that figure like every time I go to a certain comic book store. Like, like, there it is, there he is, and it still looks hot. Like it's
no. That's one thing. Todd McFarlane knows how to do any kind of medieval-ish, cyberpunk medieval armor. Like that's what Todd's really good at. So I knew when I designed that figure, I go, if Todd's ever going to make this, he's going to kill it, and certainly he did. People are even like tearing it apart to use pieces of it to build custom figures for other things.
Really?
Like, I've noticed like that's one of the favorite kit bashed figures people will buy and disassemble and just like use as gloves or chest plates or whatever. It gets moved around a lot.
Is it one of those things where you're like, this is cool, but on the other hand, you're like, you're taking it apart?
No, no, I kit bash myself a lot when I build Batmobiles and stuff for when I draw and stuff. I think I showed you the one last time.
The Batmobile, right? Like the future, like Batman Beyond Batmobile, right?
Yeah, like I built this one. I kit bashed it. I had to rip up the Batman '89 model to use certain parts.
That's cool.
You can see like this part right here is basically the hood of the '89.
Yeah, it's got the bullet. It's the tube part. Yeah,
absolutely. So I am very sympathetic to people that do that.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
I always couldn't figure out if I would like it or not if I ever be like, I have an action figure that I designed. Don't take it apart.
Yeah.
You know, like.
Yeah. No, I mean, I never really thought about it that way. I guess maybe it should bother me. I don't know.
No, they like every element of it. They can use it in other things. It enhances other things.
Right.
Yeah, man. I love how your designs go into the core of the character, and if they are like it's a reinterpretation, a reimagining of another character. You kind of like put your own spin on it. But the Terry suit is just like you're like, I don't think you're like, don't mess with perfection. Like,
I tried. I tried to. Yeah, I had. I don't have any drawings of anything, but I had different takes, and I tried to add like red straps and just move different things around. Yeah. And I was like, man, I even tried to get rid of the mouth because I thought I hated Terry's, because like white mouth. So it's like there's always. But the more I drew it, the more I realized it doesn't look like Batman Beyond without the mouth. Like that mouth has to be there, and I ended up putting it in, of course. The only thing I really did differently was shrink the ears, just because I personally am not a fan of ears like that high.
The crazy ones,
snug ears. Yeah, but otherwise, it's the costume, and it's not really. Like I'll add a few little details like spikes in the back of the neck.
Yeah.
And maybe like some vents around the ribs, just because when you have a lot of panels and you're zooming in on different parts of a character, it's nice to have different elements to play with. Where when he's just all black, it might not be as interesting, even though that is easier to animate. Like I'm actually gonna call one of the guys that works at McFarlane, if they ever do a Beyond figure, I was going to say, can you focus on the texture that I'm doing? Like, rather than just mimic the details that what I drew, can you get in some of like the scribbly texture? Like, I don't just draw a bicep smooth. I like rough it in with a crow quill, and I purposely make it like really grainy.
Okay.
Is there a way to make a figure that has texture? It's more about texture and less about the design, if that makes sense. I don't know how hard that would be to mold. It's kind of like the Batfleck costume, which is pretty simple, but they did give the gray like this kind of newspaper texture, which was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I really liked the way his whole thing just looked. I liked his whole design.
It's interesting how this is totally unrelated, but like how with superhero movie costumes, they're like, everybody always like, oh man, why don't they just do the comic? And it's like that you need it needs to catch light, and it needs to have texture, and so it's like it's why like, oh god, I don't remember what superhero suit it was where it's like it's just a million little logos, but I think it was a Superman suit at some point, but like in any case, like, but the Batman suit is one of those things where like they tried something different instead of it just being the ribbed, like the Spider-Man, the Superman, like the that kind of thing. They're like, give it some kind of texture, make it more visually interesting.
Yeah, the Brendan Routh design had mini Supermans, I think, on it.
There you go.
And if you're designing things and you're spending all day with like a piece of fabric, you're gonna think, oh man, wouldn't it be cool if this? Wouldn't it be cool if that? But it's like, dude, no one's gonna zoom in that close to even appreciate that.
Yeah.
Like even on the Star Trek show, they redesigned a batleth and they designed it amazing. If you're holding it, it's amazing. But on film, you can't fucking see what the hell's notice. On it. Like you did a lot of extra work for no reason. And I would even point the example of like Michael Bay's Transformers is they're so complicated. You don't know what the hell you're looking at. Yep. Like, is that an elbow? Is that a kneecap? Yeah. It's just two big piles of garbage flying over the 405 fighting each other.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the Transformers, but I agree. Once they start fighting, you have no idea what is even happening in the sequences anymore. It's just a CG, which is where I think they came in with the idea of doing the human element. Oh, well, we got to do that because you can't tell what's going on with the robots. Yeah. But if you just made them basic like the original cartoon, it would have been fine.
Right. Yeah, I mean, imagine the animator in the first movie. Michael Bay's like, "What are you doing? What are you designing there?" He's like, "I'm designing a calf muscle." Oh, you gotta have like gizmos on it and whirring cogs, and you gotta have wires, and like it should be moving. And like, sir, it's just a calf. Like, I'm fucking Michael Bay, and I want the calf to look like this. It's like, Jesus, all right, fine, fucking back off. And by the end of the week, you're like, this whole. Even when Optimus Prime is not moving, everything in him is moving. Right. And you're like, what the hell am I looking at?
The big issue is they don't even have the color difference because they all have gray wheels and gears. So like he starts fighting and it's just all the gray.
Right. Like I know the truck red chest. Got it. I know where his chest is. Like I can recognize that from across like a football field. I know which way. Like there's something about that simplicity. Like you obviously don't want to make it exactly like the cartoon, but I thought the Bumblebee movie really
nailed
was the best one so far.
Oh, that intro. Oh my God. I didn't even.
That was the Transformers we always wanted.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was coming. I'm just like, I literally turned to my wife. I'm like, "You want to go see that Bumblebee movie?" She's like, "All right." So we go see it in like a matinee. There's like I, and like one other person in the theater. And she's like, "I'm gonna go to the bathroom." She's like, "I don't need to see this." She leaves, and the movie opens, and it's that 4-minute intro, and I'm like, oh my God. Like Shockwave shows up, and he sounds like Shockwave, and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then shut up. She's like, "What I miss?" I'm like, everything.
No, that last week we had 3 trailers come out at once: Indiana Jones, Transformers, and Guardians. And I would have thought that Transformers would be my least favorite, but that was my most favorite.
It's pretty dope.
Clear action, like you got the Mirage and he's doing the thing, and like I'm already excited for that. You know, I thought the humor was funny, and
I just wish they had made Optimus Primal look a little different because like it's just like he's in ape mode and now he's pretty much got a different head. Like he looks the exact same going back and forth.
I didn't catch that. Yeah,
I kind of like the Beast Mode cartoon, so I'll defend it a little bit, but it's.
I love Beast Wars. Beast Wars got me into Transformers. That was my childhood. You know, that terrible CG.
It was cutting edge at the time.
You
know,
like
don't rag on reboot.
I didn't remember
Reboot's cool.
Yeah.
It's funny they went with Mirage and not Jazz. I'm looking at the comments actually. Everyone thought the Porsche was Jazz, but as a car guy, I'm like, no, Jazz was a flat nose Porsche, and that 911 was like you don't want me to go down the rabbit hole. But Jazz would have been a clear hit. I mean, obviously the Mirage thing is awesome too, but
Yeah. So back to the topic on hand here.
No. Now we have we have a Transformers show. We're gonna just.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
So are you a fan of G1? Are you classic G1? Are you?
I'm GoBots all the way.
Oh no!
Back to White Knight. So
well, then you must have loved Guardians, the holiday special.
Oh man. To answer a few questions in the stream here, people are asking if I'm gonna put in Tim Drake or Damian, and I actually don't have any plans to do that. I pitched an expansion of my line to DC about a year ago, and I said, I don't really know what to say about Damian. He's not really my Robin, but if there's an author and an artist that would love to take a stab, maybe we can do spinoffs like the ones I've been doing, but do them more frequently. And the plan never really came to fruition. In my brain, I only have so much space. Like Batman Beyond has 8 characters in it or something like that. It's already like really hard to keep track of it all. So adding more and more Robins is just something that I don't think I have the bandwidth for.
Well, if you ever want 2 YouTubers to write stuff, Salad free.
We will take over. Yeah,
I'll take Damien, trust me.
I'll take the Tim book. You get the Damien book, and we'll be good to go.
I might ask you if I ever write Damien. I might run it by you guys as my litmus test.
Okay,
like, you guys are the fans. If you guys are happy with Damien, then most readers will.
I like Damien. I'm one of the few people that like it. Like I like.
Yeah.
My complaint about Damien is just he always does the same arc.
Right.
He goes from being a little shit to learning his lesson, and then it's like some new writer takes over, and they don't even give a reason. He's just
they didn't
a little
read
shit
it.
again.
Most writers are just like, Damien's he's the bad one, right? Okay, got it. And then they just move on. That's
But what
me,
I did want to say, so we can kind of close out the White Knight segment here and discussions with you. Do you have anything you want to, without spoiling, imply for issue 7 and 8, which I believe 7 drops right around the Christmas break, which means 8 should drop probably end of January? And you're going to wrap anything you want to hint at for people who watch this interview and are going out buying the book, get them hyped.
Yeah.
If you're a fan of Justice League, you'll be happy.
Okay.
Oh no.
That's a big tease.
But we're doing it in a way that's unlike, and I know people say this all the time, but for real, this is unlike anything you've ever seen. The way we introduce the characters, they're not the histories that you're used to. What else can I say?
I was like, because what you're saying now, that's my clickbait, just so you know.
Okay, good, yeah.
So just be aware of what you're saying. I just want to let you know.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. No, if we get into that stuff, it'll be in a way that's unlike any other way we've seen them before. And if I've done my own spin on Batman, then who knows what I might do with my own spin on Diana or Clark or whoever. You know, I'm just throwing names out there. I'm not saying these are the names we're using.
Sure, of course.
Right, but now Bleeding Cool is about to run an article.
Oh, they hate covering me, man. Because I don't play ball with them.
Oh, okay.
No, they get annoyed at my success. You can tell by the way they cover me. Even when they have to cover me, they're like, well, I guess Sean has a successful comic. But don't forget, one time he tweeted a thing, which made it look like he was this thing, but even though he's not that thing.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Classic.
Bleeding Cool practically ignores the two of us also.
It's
which
true.
That's the best place to be. And there's a handful of people with restraining orders on Rich Johnson. And I want to know, how do you get in line for one of those?
Oh, my God.
All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's discussion with me, Sal, and Sean about the White Knight universe. I'm excited for it. If you couldn't tell, I've been a huge fan of this since it came out. So just getting to talk to you is always so much fun. And like I said, anytime you want to come on here and hype any of your projects, just go ahead and ask, and you easily have room here.
Thank you, sir.
So
I'm going to be doing a Zorro next year and another thing, which I'll be bugging you about. So thank you.
All right, yeah.
Excellent.
Be great. Zorro. Did you say Zorro? Did I hear Zorro?
Yeah.
Okay.
I could say that. I got the license for Zorro, or I licensed Zorro, and I'm going to be doing my own Zorro book that I'm going to start immediately after Batman, but I'll be kickstarting it in the summer.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm definitely interested in
issues.
that. Zorro is another one of those ones that I watched as a kid, and I don't like anything they've done since what I watched as a kid.
I agree, and it's hard. I can't look at Zorro unless Alex Toth drew him, so it'll be an interesting challenge to sort of get some of that. And my pitch is basically like, take Narcos, so modern day tale, and there's this guy who's in this drug village who starts fighting narcos, but he's out of his mind, and he actually thinks that he's Zorro. He dresses like it, he talks like it, he sees a car, he thinks it's a horse. So it's kind of like Don Quixote. And the problem is he's really fucking good at being Zorro, so he's actually able to help topple the cartel. So it's kind of like an old Zorro meets a new type of thing.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
My cat's yelling at me. She'd like me to end. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up here. Thank you guys for watching today's episode. Let me tell you what's coming out. Towards the end of December, White Knight, Beyond the White Knight issue 7. Towards the end of January, Beyond the White Knight number 8. Make sure you get them. You can watch all the videos to get caught up here on the channel. Or my recommendation, go to your local comic book store, pick up those books, add them to your collection. It's on my personal library, so I definitely highly recommend adding them to your collection. So get your hands on them. And again, thank you for joining us here today. And
thank you, both of you guys. I appreciate this a lot.
And we're going to close out this segment right here. Thank you.